It's December 12th, 2011. I've been having a rough time trying to. I've spoken about it in other journal entries to try to renegotiate myself into this new media. Um, I used to write quite a bit, and I've journaling, and I came to understand in that process that I was channeling a great deal of energy, a great deal of what I felt was making me feel truly alive um, through my writing. All other avenues, many other avenues, all other avenues, for all intent and purposes, were closed to me. They were shut down. And I came across, I was introduced to Joseph Campbell and the idea of doors opening and doors closing as if it were a destiny. Um, Helped elaborate on my perspective that where doors shut, maybe it's best that I pay attention and listen to it, because I think I might have overstayed my welcome in a lot of ways, uh, because it was time for me to move on to a different media. So reading and writing became a new media. Um, Mainly it was social interaction and work before that. And I injured myself, and in that severe injury, I became permanently disabled. So I had to channel into something else, and it became my writing. Well, moving to this video journaling has been difficult, mainly because I became I was much less critical about my writing, being that I've watched so much television and so many personalities and people who are very well trained in uh, speaking before a camera. I was much more critical on myself. Uh, I am much more critical on myself. And this self-criticism, the critical analysis, can be very detrimental. I think it's an excellent tool to a point, and then you can go too far with it, and it just dissolves the whole form entirely that you're trying to bring together. Anyway, I was inspired to do this because I was watching another guy that I appreciate, a few other people that I realize through YouTube they've been given an avenue to express themselves in the form that suits them, and I think that enables a great deal of the defensive mechanisms that are developed consciously and unconsciously by our society and our time. It helps those defensive mechanisms fall away when we feel more comfortable. We can allow a more genuine representation of ourselves. And I think that there are a great deal of defensive mechanisms in place that are instilled in us in childhood and through adulthood that keep us in line and require of us to toe the line and not step out of the bounds of social norms. So, in watching these individuals, one is Holland's Network, and another one is John David Ebert. I was inspired to actually try to do this, but not as they do it. They're very proficient in their understanding and their knowledge. They seem very intelligent, and they have a great deal of information at the forefront of their consciousness that they can reproduce at will. And I am not like that. I can be, but that's not what I want to do. That's too much pressure for me. It's just not my deal. So this last week, we had that full moon lunar eclipse. I think it was on the 10th. The moon always affects me. I'm always dreaming during the full moon, the week prior to the full moon. I always have. Oftentimes prophetic dreams. And my studies with Campbell and Jung have helped me to understand the difference between a metaphor and a reality, a fact, and that the unconscious is to be interpreted symbolically rather than literally, more often than not. But John David Ebert recently did a clip, a 3-part clip, YouTube clips on Howard Hughes. And he talks about the hero's journey, somewhat, what the hero represents. And he speaks to celebrityism. And his thoughts and mine are very similar. However, I've noticed a few things in my experience about the hero or the celebrity, and it may be a matter of semantics and definitions. But what I've come to realize goes very closely also with religion and religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, those beliefs that guide us and direct us in our life. And how the social conditioning that we receive can be given the aura or the glow, the numinosity that it is a true spiritual way to be. When I've come to understand that a great deal of my conflicts have come in relationship with people who hide behind their religious and spiritual conceptions and perspectives so that they can do ego-centered, self-aggrandizing behavior. And I'm not saying any of this to take away someone's spiritual values or how those values guide their lives. I think in relationship with Campbell's work about the hero's journey, the true heroism and courage required is to confront our own self-delusions. And being that we live in time, we have this relative existence, this existence that is dependent upon seemingly objective relationships. And so we can often get caught up in all of the stuff of time and lose focus of the fact that all of the stuff of time at its root has the same source as we do, so we all stem from the same source. There was a term, Campbell, there was a sentence he wrote, I think it was in Creative Myth, and it had to do with Buddhist philosophy. And the sentence goes somewhat to the effect of, the Buddha always takes the form of its auditors. Rather than using the word Buddha, you could use the term Godhead or God. The God always takes the form of its auditors. So, in the Eastern perspective, there is no real separation between ourselves and the other, and that there is an intimate relationship between what we observe in the other and we ourselves as the observer. There's a link there.